Okay, here we go again. Welcome. All right. This is session number 123 of Kevin Reads A Course in Miracles. All right, session 1, 2, 3. We are in chapter 15, entitled The Holy Instant, and we are in section 8, Roman numeral 8, entitled The Only Real Relationship. It's on page 320 in the text. All righty then. So the Holy Spirit, or I should say the Holy Instant. The Holy Instant does not replace the need for learning. For the Holy Spirit must not leave you as your teacher until the Holy Instant has extended far beyond time. For a teaching assignment such as his, he must use everything in this world for your release. He must side with every sign or token of your willingness to learn of him what the truth must be. He is swift to utilize whatever you offer him on behalf of this, and his concern and care for you are limitless. In the face of your fear of forgiveness, which he perceives as clearly as he knows forgiveness is release, he will teach you to remember that forgiveness is not loss, but your salvation. And that in complete forgiveness, in which you recognize that there is nothing to forgive, you are absolved completely. All right? So, in this first paragraph here, it's basically the entire process that we go through in the course. Right? And we come out with the realization that there was nothing to forgive. Right? That's the Atonement Principle. You never separated from God. You never sinned. Right? There was nothing to forgive. And there was nothing to project out onto others. So therefore, there's nothing to forgive out there either. Right? So what he's talking about here is this. The Holy Instant does not replace the need for learning. Right? He says, because the Holy Instant the Holy Spirit is not going to leave you until the Holy Instant has extended far beyond time, until that's the only thing there is that communication with your Creator. So he's basically talking about little holy instants, like practice. You know, you keep doing it, and then you have this tremendous advance. All right? And so the holy instant doesn't replace the need for learning. We have to learn, keep learning, keep reinforcing the fact that we never left. There is no problem, right? And we do that by bringing everything to the Holy Spirit, to have him interpret for us, to retranslate, to change our perceptions, right? That's his teaching assignment, right? And he must use everything in this world for your release. So everything that we've made, everything that we've miscreated, all these things that we encounter in the world, people, places, things, thoughts, right? All these things we bring to him. That's his assignment. Okay? He uses everything to show us that you never left. You never left your Father. You never sinned. Right? And he will use everything in this world for your release. Your release from the ego thought system, right? Your release from that belief that you separated from God. And you remember that Jesus said all you need to do is like nod, whisper to the atonement. Okay? This is the same way of saying that, a different way of saying that. The Holy Spirit, he's talking about, he must side with every sign or token of your willingness to learn of him what the truth must be. So every time I turn to the Holy Spirit to ask him, show me what the truth is in this situation, right? I know what I'm thinking, but it doesn't seem to be working out. You know, I'm having these outrageous reactions. Right? And he will side with me with every sign of my willingness to learn of him what the truth must be. He will help me. He's swift to utilize whatever you offer him on behalf of this. Nothing too big, nothing too small. Right? Nothing shameful, nothing, oh God, I couldn't tell him that. Right? He's swift to utilize whatever you offer him on behalf of this. His concern and care for you are limitless. Never ends. In the face of your fear of forgiveness, which he understands, he gets it, he knows, right? In the face of your fear of forgiveness, which he perceives as clearly as he knows forgiveness is release, he will teach you to remember that forgiveness is not loss, but your salvation. And we have this fear of forgiveness. Because we see it in this human capacity. Right? If I forgive him, he's going to get away with it. That's the big thing all the time, usually, right? And that means your ego loses. You lose somehow. Because they won't stop. Right? He's trying to teach us that there is no loss when you're willing to see correctly. When you're willing to see the other correctly, there is no loss. Right? And he says, and the Holy Spirit knows you have a fear of forgiveness. Not only that, you know, someone's going to win and you're going to lose, but there's also that fear that you're going to disappear. You're going to become this nothing, and that you have no idea what the existence is like. So that's a big fear, as we always talk about here, the fear of the abstract, the fear of being abstract, the thought. Right? So he says the Holy Spirit understands this. He's the mediator. He's the teacher. He's the guide. Right? He's the bridge. Okay? So he will teach you to remember that forgiveness is not loss, but your salvation, and that in complete forgiveness, you are absolved completely. Right? And that little phrase in between says, in that in complete forgiveness, in which you recognize there's nothing to forgive, you are absolved completely. Right? When we keep going to that holy instant to have our perceptions changed, all of a sudden, sooner or later, you realize who you are, what your relationship with God is, and you realize that you never left, and there is nothing to forgive. Right? He says, in that moment, you're absolved completely. There is no sin. There's no separation. Paragraph 2. So he says, in that case, hear him gladly and learn of him that you have need of no special relationships at all. You but seek in them what you have thrown away. And through them you will never learn the value of what you have cast aside, but still desire with all your heart. Let us join together in making the holy instant all there is, by desiring that it be all that there is. God's Son has such great need of your willingness to strive for this, that you cannot conceive of a need so great. Behold the only need that God and his Son share and will to meet together. You are not alone in this. The will of your creations calls to you to share your will with them. Turn then in peace from guilt to God and them. So he says, listen gladly to your guide. Excuse me, my throat is so dry. All right. Listen to him and learn that you have no need of special relationships at all. And you learn that you're only looking for what you had thrown away. You were looking out there for it, right? For what you think you threw away. Right? So we keep looking outside of ourselves. Right? We think, we feel this emptiness because we turned our back on everything. And we feel this emptiness, this need to fulfill it. Whether it's, you feel lonely, you want companionship, you feel physical needs, you want to satisfy them. You feel all kinds of different needs. And you go looking to fix it, take care of it, make yourself feel better. Okay, nobody's saying don't do that. Just realize what you're doing. And when you realize what you're doing, you can deal with it easier. You can let the Holy Spirit help you to deal with anything. Okay? All right? You but seek what you have thrown away. All right? And what you've thrown away, you still desire with all your heart. The thing is, we've had that veil of forgetfulness. Since we split off from it, we forgot. All right? Now we think this is it. This whole world is it. So I'm looking, I got to go look around. Get what you need. And we have all these needs, but your real need, your real desire, is for the memory of your connection with God. Right? And it says, behold, the only need that God and his Son share is that connection. All right? And you both will to meet that together. So he says, you're not alone in this. The memory of who you are calls to you. To share with you, right, what you will with them. It says, turn then in peace from guilt to God and them. Alrighty then, paragraph 3. Relate only with what will never leave you and what you can never leave. The loneliness of God's Son is the loneliness of his Father. Refuse not the awareness of your completion, and seek not to restore it to yourself. Fear not to give redemption over to your Redeemer's love. He will not fail you, for he comes from one who cannot fail. Accept your sense of failure as nothing more than a mistake in who you are. For the holy host of God is beyond failure. and nothing that he wills can be denied. You are forever in a relationship so holy that it calls to everyone to escape from loneliness and to join in your love. And where you are, must everyone seek and find you there. Right? So he says, relate only to what will never leave you. Right? And that's the oneness, that's God. Right? That is the condition of heaven. It's who you truly are. He says, relate to that, and only that. Right? He says, you feel lonely. He says, your Father feels the same way. He wants you back. Okay? Which is a heavy metaphor. Okay? Pardon me for making that noise. Okay? Refuse not the awareness of your completion, right? Which is what we do. He says, don't refuse it. Don't refuse the awareness of who you are. Don't refuse the awareness of your completion. Your completion is your connection with God. Your completion is the healing of the split mind. Right? When you are complete, you're one, you're in the oneness. All right? So he says, don't refuse it, and don't try to restore it to yourself. All right? Seek not to restore it to yourself by looking outside. This is reach out for help. Right? Go to your inner guide. Right? He says, you think you know what's best for you, and this is what got you here. Okay? So seek not to restore your completion to yourself. Right? Don't do it alone. Ask Jesus, Holy Spirit, for help. Okay? And fear not to give redemption over to your Redeemer's love. Right? Jesus and Holy Spirit are our Redeemer. They release us from the ego thought system. So he says, don't be afraid to give that process over to them. Right? You don't have to do it by yourself. Can't do it by yourself. Sooner or later, the ego will squeeze back in there, and the next thing you know, you'll be, making rules. You'll be the pastor of a church, telling people what they can and cannot do. Alrighty then. I don't know how that snuck in there. Okay. But fear not to give redemption over to your Redeemer's love. He will not fail you, for he comes from one who cannot fail. Okay. So Jesus can't fail. The Holy Spirit can't fail. Right? Because they are connected to God. Right? And accept your sense of failure as nothing more than a mistake in who you are. Right? I mean, a lot of us walk around with this sense that, you're a failure. You didn't quite make it. Whatever, however that takes shape in your world. All right? Just the idea that you feel lonely or angry or whatever. Right? That's kind of like a sense of failure. Right? He says, only accept it as it's just a mistake. It's just a mistake in knowing who you are. Right? And then he tells you who you are. You are the holy host of God. For the holy host of God is beyond failure. He says, you can't fail. You are the host of God. Think about that. That's not something nice to say. The holy host of God is beyond failure, and nothing he wills can be denied. You are forever in a relationship so holy that it calls to everyone to escape from loneliness and join you in your love. And where you are, must everyone seek and find you there. So you are in a relationship with your Creator. You are in a relationship with God. And it's so holy that it calls for everyone to be gathered in. It just extends and it encompasses. Well, it doesn't even encompass because that implies boundaries, but it just extends. Right? And it calls to everyone to escape from loneliness. It calls to everyone to awaken from this dream and to join you in your love. Okay? And where you are, must everyone seek and find you there. Right? You are in the mind. And you are in the mind that thought of you. You're connected to that. Right? And that calls to everyone to meet you in that same spot and have that same experience, and to be released from their loneliness. Right. And we do that in the mind, in thoughts. Okay. We can look at a person and you might say to yourself, I don't know where to begin to help this person. Right? The thing is to just connect with the Holy Spirit. Just allow love to come through you. And although that will be enough, you will be connecting with their mind. Right? You never know, you might get a thought about an action you should take or something you should say or something. That's how these little holy instants operate in the world. And you'll see that the people that are standing in front of you are being drawn to you for that experience. Right? Nothing for anything in form. Right? They're joining you in the mind, right? Where their comfort is, where their release from loneliness is. Alrighty then. And in that way, you are like Jesus. Right? Jesus says, if you want to be like me, I will help you. Right? This is not a form of arrogance. Right? It's a form of claiming your true nature. Okay. Paragraph 4. Think but an instant on this. God gave the sonship to you to ensure your perfect creation. This was his gift, for as he withheld himself not from you, he withheld not his creation. Nothing that ever was created, but is yours. Your relationships are with the universe, and this universe, being of God, is far beyond the petty sum of all the separate bodies you perceive. For all its parts are joined in God through Christ, where they become like to their Father. Christ knows of no separation from his Father, who is his one relationship, in which he gives as his Father gives to him. Okay. All right. Think but an instant on this. God gave the sonship to you to ensure your perfect creation. All right. So God extended, and there you were. That's the sonship. And that ensures your perfect creation. Right? This was his gift. For as he withheld himself not from you, he withheld not his creation. He extended everything, and it's yours. Put it into words, right? Nothing that was ever created but is yours. All right? Your relationships are with the universe. All right? In other words, your relationships are in heaven, so to speak. All right? The universe, the great expanse. Okay. That spaciousness. That's where your relationships are, in there. In that realization that you are and have everything. In that place where you realize that you did not separate. Right? There is nothing to forgive. Right? In that space, that's where your relationships are. Right? And this universe, being of God, is far beyond the petty sum of all the separate bodies you perceive. Right? This universe, he says, being of God, is just far beyond all those separate bodies that you see. Even if you see beauty in the celestial displays, if you can see the nighttime sky, with all those planets and stars. He says it's beyond that, because even that has a sense of separation in it. Okay. So, it's beyond the separate bodies you perceive. For all its parts are joined in God through Christ, where they become like to their Father. He keeps reiterating in different ways. Right? So all these separate parts are joined in the universe where you really exist. Right? Everything is joined through Christ, right? The offspring of the Father. You, your true self. Right? Where they become like the Father. Christ knows no separation from his Father, who is one, who is his one relationship, right? In which he gives as his Father gives to him. Okay, just another, poetic and high-minded description of your relationship to God. You are the Christ, and the giving and receiving are continuous with your Creator, with your Father. Right. Paragraph 5. The Holy Spirit is God's attempt to free you of what he does not understand. And because of the source of the attempt, it will succeed. The Holy Spirit asks you to respond as God does. For he would teach you what you do not understand. God would respond to every need, whatever form it takes. And so he keeps this channel open to receive his communication to you, and yours to him. God does not understand your problem in communication, for he does not share it with you. It is only you who believe that it is understandable. The Holy Spirit knows that it is not understandable, and yet he understands it because you made it. Okay. So the Holy Spirit is God's attempt to free you of what he does not understand. God doesn't understand the idea of separation. Right? God doesn't understand the idea of individuality. Okay? So he sends the Holy Spirit to help out with that, to free you from those thoughts. Because they're so crazy. He says, you can't even understand that. It's just so crazy. You know, it's like you see someone, all of a sudden they're walking past you or standing on a corner or somewhere, and they just start speaking gibberish. Gibberish. It's like you look at them and you don't understand. Okay? And that's what God does. God doesn't understand that thought of separation. All right? God only understands that you are with him. All right? And so the Holy Spirit is there to help us, to get, to free us from those silly thoughts. All right? To free you of what he doesn't understand. And because of the source, it will succeed. So because the Holy Spirit is the memory of who you are and your connection with God, all right? And as if God sent him to us, is because he sent him, it's going to work out. It's going to succeed, all right? You will remember who you are. You will remember that there's no separation. We're the ones who delay. Right? Because remember, the Holy Spirit doesn't come in and turn a switch. All right, it has to be our choice. Help me to see correctly. Okay. So the Holy Spirit asks you to respond as God does, for he would teach you what you do not understand. So the Holy Spirit will teach you what you do not understand. And what you do not understand is that you never separated from your source. You never left the mind of God. And the Holy Spirit is here to help us, to teach us that. Right? So God will respond to every need, whatever form it takes. So whatever form we bring to the Holy Spirit, help me to see correctly. I think I need this. Help me to see correctly. All right? He says God would answer every need. Right? No matter what form it takes. Okay. And so he keeps the channel open to receive his communication to you. All right? So it's not guaranteeing that everything is going to be taken care of in form. All right? What happens is, sometimes people say, "Oh, I prayed for this, I prayed." Okay, what we're doing is we're telling God, I really want peace of mind, and it has to look this way. Okay. All right. I want peace of mind. And a brand new car. All right, I want peace of mind. And that looks like a substantial bank account. All right, whatever. Okay? God answers our needs. Well, peace of mind is the answer to everything. Understanding who we are is the answer to everything. And it will be the answer to every problem. Right? Because it all boils down to one problem, the belief in separation. Okay? And when we have the solution, which is the remembrance that I did not separate, then the other problems take care of themselves or disappear. Okay? So, he goes in paragraph 5, sentence 6, God does not understand your problem in communication. All right? So God doesn't understand that idea of separation. All right? That's like looking at you and you're talking gibberish. All right? Because he doesn't share that idea with you. All right? He doesn't share that problem in communication. He doesn't share the idea that you've broken communication. So he doesn't share that idea. It's only you that believe it, and you believe it's understandable. How come God doesn't understand? Right? You're the only one who believes separation is understandable. Right? Then he says the Holy Spirit knows that it's not understandable. Right? The Holy Spirit knows that the idea of being separate from God is not understandable. You can't understand it. It's crazy. And yet, he understands it because you made it. In other words, you believe it. All right? So, Holy Spirit, he says, I get it. All right? I'll help you with that. Okay? Paragraph 6. In the Holy Spirit alone lies the awareness of what God cannot know and what you do not understand. It is his holy function to accept them both, and by removing every element of disagreement, to join them into one. He will do this because it is his function. Leave then what seems to you to be impossible to him who knows it must be possible, because it is the will of God. And let him whose teaching is only of God teach you the only meaning of relationships. For God created the only relationship that has meaning, and that is his relationship with you. Okay. So in the Holy Spirit alone lies the awareness of what God cannot know. All right? So in the Holy Spirit, there's the awareness that you believe in separation. Okay? And then in the Holy Spirit is the awareness of what you don't understand, which is you can't separate from, you're never separated from God. All right? You are the Son of God. So he's got both things going on. It is his holy function to accept them both, and by removing every element of disagreement, to join them into one. Right? In other words, that's the process when I'm asking, help me to see this correctly. Right? Help me to see this element of separation through the eyes of no separation. Okay, to put it that way maybe. All right? By removing every element of disagreement, they join them into one. All right? And he will do this because that's his function. That's his job. Bring it to him. Leave then what seems to you to be impossible to him who knows it must be possible, because it is the will of God. Right? So leave then what seems to be impossible, that you are the Son of God, that you never separated from God, that you are one with God. Right? That's what seems to be impossible to us. So he says, leave it to him, who knows that it must be possible because it's the will of God. Right? So let him repair the perceptions. Right? I mean, every time I say that in these sessions, that you are the Son of God, look at your reaction. You know, we become afraid of it, like you know, people are going to point at you like, oh, look, he's crazy. He thinks he's the Son of God. My friend Emily used to say, it's not that I was upset with the fact that he thought he was the Son of God. I was upset at the fact that he thought he was the only Son of God. So in other words, we're all part of the Son of God. Okay. So he says, leave what you think is impossible, leave it to him, because he knows it's possible. And let him, whose teaching is only of God, teach you the only meaning of relationships. Right? So let the Holy Spirit interpret our relationships for us. Let the Holy Spirit take our relationship and make it a holy relationship, a relationship in which we learn of our innocence and the other's innocence. Okay? And he says, because God created the only relationship that has meaning. And the only relationship that has meaning is his relationship with you. Right? Everything else is chaos. Right? Everything else is not eternal bliss. Okay? The only relationship that has meaning is your relationship to God. And remember, this is not to be used to judge or criticize yourself. It's just an impetus to start noticing. Start noticing when we're projecting onto others. Right? And ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Help us translate. Help us to see correctly. And when we do that enough times, eventually, the joining with the Holy Spirit will be all that there is. All right? Okay? And you will be able to extend. All right? You will extend the love that comes through you. Okay? All right. Here's to extending love. And we'll see you in the next session. All righty then. Bye now.